Hi folks, these are games that are cheap now. If all you're looking for is my selection for the week, you can scroll down to the video description below and find a complete list of the games selected and the respective storefront link where to get them, either for cheap or for nothing at all. If, however, you're interested in hearing my thoughts on them, why they were selected, maybe why you would be interested in playing them, here we go. This week on our quest to save some sovereigns and carefully tally some talents and potentially divest some ducats. Yeah, these are all defunct currencies, but that is no reason to splurge and spend currently used currencies, sometimes concurrently used currencies that are current. Spend wisely is the message. First stop, we have Steam, and in the spirit of carefully managing your resources, we have Shapes, a resource management assembly line game that brings the basics of automation and base building to almost the level of artwork. Industrial, very simplistic, kind of dull looking, but still art once you know the intricacies that went into building what it is that you're building. One caveat, I have to say this. Why did they name the game Shapes with a Z at the end? It's so stupid. I can't. Every time I open the game and read that, I go, man, did the development team have a toddler almost learning how to spell but not quite name the game? It is just that stupid. But trademark issues aside, Shapes is a great pickup if you're obsessed with getting things done just so. Another game in which things get done just so, by things I mean you as a player character, you're gonna get done pretty quickly and done significantly and repeatedly because you will die over and over and over and over again. It's a horror game, kind of a survival game. Not that there's much resource management other than managing how many underwear you're going to be soiling through the playthrough, but yeah. Follow-up to Outlast, sort of spiritual successor to Amnesia. Very, very good games. Actually, arguably better than Outlast 2. But for €4, you too can shit your pants. If you're agoraphobic and would very much like to shit your pants that way, Astroneer, a game in which you're going to explore vast expanses of uninhabited planets and space. Resource collection, survival, crafting, very diegetic, now that I think about it. Probably the best diegetic in-game. I mean, you see your inventory management in the actual game world. It's not like it's a menu and you have stuff in it. No, your inventory management happens in the game world. Very good change of pace, actually. There's a visual, very pleasing aspect to doing things like that. Again, very interesting, colorful, and now I think you can play it multiplayer, no less. Game about exploration and survival. Easy to get into, not that difficult to master, really. So, it's a bit of a learning curve, but you'll get there. Or will you? There's a mystery or two to resolve. You might not actually get there and just lose yourself on the base building. But either way, you'll have fun. Another game that will really tempt you to lose yourself in it is L.A. Noire. Not a recent game, certainly, but an exceptionally good game in terms of immersion. And I'm surprised that the game mechanics weren't really picked up for a lot more games, especially the investigation aspects and the interrogation. Reading the micro-expressions of the people you're interrogating to try to pick up whether they're lying or perhaps hiding something else. Really, really interesting. And you can get it for less than €6. On Humble Bundle, there is another game with plenty of micro-expressions and, frankly, macro-expressions of evil, mostly. The Evil Within. I have never played the second in the series, I have played the first, and I have to say that the fact that they introduced a made-for-purpose first-person mode really intrigues me, and because horror games really tend to only affect me directly, as in I am in danger, I am really afraid of this, I'm scared, tends to do that more effectively in first person rather than third person, in which something in my brain just goes, oh yeah, it's the player character, not me, that's in danger, so not so scary. So that makes me quite tempted to play this now. $3.98. Damn it. Well, I think I'm going to take the plunge. Second on the list, the Stalker Bundle. You might not want to take the plunge because you don't want to fall into the rifts, really. That's why you throw those little, is it the screws you throw? I'm not. You throw little metal pieces around just to make sure they're not falling into, you know, a dimensional rift unaware. That's part of the Stalker mechanics, among others. Very, very mysterious game, a very mysterious region you'll be exploring in the games. And all of this I'm saying because, why? Because there's Stalker 2 in the pipeline. The folks at the development studio, Ukrainian development studio if you don't know, of course, current affairs really affect the development of the games, but still due to come out, I believe, later this year, or not that long of a time. You might want to, if you've never picked them up, take the opportunity to take a gander at what the previous Stalker games had to offer, for just over €7. Speaking of the threat to democracy in Ukraine, we have Democracy 4, a game in which you're going to explore and mold, depending on your objectives, whether a certain society will be a democracy, work well as a democracy, and whether the people are more or less free, more or less indoctrinated, etc., etc. Learn the ropes of the very basic concepts of different social policies, economic policies, education, scientific policies, and their possible effects on a society. Of course, in the real world, cause and effect aren't as simple or direct as in democracy, and that's saying something because in democracy, there's also quite a bit of highly complex interactions already, but still a very enjoyable sandbox type game. In Hard West 2, oh my, not so many boxes, mostly barrels, but boxes as well. But a lot of sand, because you'll be in the West. The far, old-timey West. You'll be fighting in tactical scenarios that are more or less otherworldly. Yeah, there's a fantastical aspect to this game. But if you like tactics, if you like cowboys, and if you like eldritch, supernatural horror, you'll fit right in. Moving on to the platform of choice for those with discerning eyes and acumen, GOG.com. We have people that certainly do not want to fit in, Pirates, the remake of the original pirate adventure game, I would say. Sail the high seas and get your booty and yo-ho the bottle of pixels, whatever. Piratey stuff. Very fun, especially the ship-to-ship combat. There's a lot of variety in the game. You have sword fighting, you have land combat, you have sort of diplomatic options, crew management and whatnot. You have romance, of which a mini dancing game. That's quite frustrating. I'm terrible at dancing the rondo. But for €2.50, experience life in the high seas. Arrgh. And if you like playing the bad guys, does Tyranny have something for you? Typically in CRPGs, the big baddie, or the evil nemesis, the supernatural evil, is the thing you're fighting against as the chosen one or a group of heroes. And no, in Tyranny, evil has won. That's done and done with. That's no longer an issue. Evil is here. Evil is everything. Evil is you. You're part of the evil. Deal with it. Explore the world. This den of never-ending iniquity. Very, very interesting CRPG. It is as far as I'm aware, a unique twist on the typical CRPG tropes, and really makes something very unique out of it. Well worth a play, especially for just over €6. We then have another unique twist, especially for XCOM fans, a unique twist on typical XCOM gameplay, tactical, strategic level decision-making, if you're not aware of what that game series is about. Here you've got more of a tactical shooter, as in more almost first or third person perspectives very often, in a more narrative-driven game within the XCOM universe. Not the best, I would say, XCOM game, but certainly not one XCOM fan should overlook just because it's not what the other games, hardcore tactical games, are. very much worth the play. XCOM Declassified. It's got the certain X-Files, the truth is out there type vibe for those of us that, or teenagers or young adults in the 90s. You'll get the vibe. Another game heavily inspired by old-timey dungeon crawlers, I would say. Back in the day, a lot of dungeon crawlers and RPGs had technical limitations, meaning that you were playing through the game in a sort of first-person perspective, grid-based view of a dungeon. And you would, with your keyboard, move or rotate left, right, move forward or back in that grid system. And there were enemies that would come and so on. Difficult to control what is behind you or to the side of you, because you need to constantly be rotating your character to have a view of them, because you only ever see what's in front of you in that type of system. Vaporum actually makes use of that sort of mechanic, a grid-based first-person perspective, as a design choice. And it is beautiful, it works, and somehow, because those old-timey games that used that type of mechanic really frustrated me, even those that were gorgeous and that I wished I was good enough and resilient enough and persistent enough to finish, like the Ishar games, for instance. I loved playing them, even though I always died before I could do half of what I wanted and never able to finish them as a kid. Vaporum takes that and makes it work. Fantastic game design choices. Unusual, you might not like them, but just for the originality of the concept, €3 is a bargain. Another bargain currently available, and certainly not a bargain bin type bargain, one of my favorite games of all time, Kingdom Come Deliverance. If you don't know what this game is, it is an adventure RPG set in an actual historical setting, Central Europe, Renaissance, not much in the way of fantastical events, if any at all, really. Hard, historical, really exquisitely designed, made and rendered locales, clothing, the game mechanics, the combat techniques, everything is exceptionally made to serve that concept, historical. You are a person, an actual person. You need to learn things that you want to be good at. You will actually have to learn how to read, for instance. How many games do that? Yeah, one of my favorites, less than €6. You can get it now at Epic. Another set of games you can get for really cheap. You don't actually have to buy this in the Microsoft Store, because, let's face it, who wants to use the PC Xbox app? Oh my god. I have nightmares. It is the buggiest piece of software I've ever seen, and I avoid it like the plague at every opportunity. But if you do not want to buy the Master Chief Collection on the Microsoft Store, it is now available for less than €10. I personally don't like the game. I think it's the blandest, most generic sci-fi shooter concept possible, but I understand why it's popular. I understand why so many people like it, and it's cheap. You might just want to wishlist it elsewhere, Steam or whatever, rather than buy it here now, but know that this collection is a thing, and it may come into a sale elsewhere at some point in the future, if you want to avoid the Xbox app. But now, you can get it for under €10, and a lifetime of pain using the Microsoft app. And our beautiful bow on the presents this week is Anno 1800. City building is the Anno series moniker. What they're known for, because there are other aspects, combat and whatnot, but really, the city building, the resource management is where the fun and interest of these games is at. And by God, is Anno 1800 a gorgeous game. Not very old, actually. I think it's the most recent Anno game currently. Yeah, and though the price tag does say €12, there is a sale ongoing on Ubisoft for which you can use, I believe you can get it on a sort of a footer or top of the page banner. There's an extra Ubisoft 20 code you can use for 20% off of any game in their store, I think, right now. So those €12 will probably be less than 10 for you, if you buy it, of course, or anything else you want to buy the Ubisoft store. But yeah, city building, resource management, industrial society at its peak, before, the horrors of the world wars and whatnot. This is what the game is good at. And those are the games that I found that are available either for free, actually none this week, or for really cheap, depending on the platform you've chosen. So if you had neglected to put any of these on your wish lists on any of the platforms you actually use typically, you can find them on these platforms right now. Till next time.